Skyrim has no shortage of magic mods, but recently there's been a series of new spell packs that have been released by the mod author Natura that I was extremely impressed by. And with some of them sitting at just around a few thousand downloads, I think they're extremely underrated. Each of the spell mods encapsulates a specific theme of magic, ranging anywhere from nature magic to shadow magic to blood magic. All of the spells added among each of these spell packs are designed to be balanced around vanilla spells and have seamless integration into the existing game. They have a clear and concise theme that is followed throughout. They scale well with perks from both vanilla Skyrim as well as those from perk overhauls. And most importantly, they feel as though they belong in the game. The first spell pack, Necrom, is an Apocryphi-themed poison spell pack that allows you to harness the power of Hermaeus Mora himself. The spell pack offers a wide range of offensive restoration spells that deal poison damage over time, while simultaneously slowing the target's movement speed. Many of the spells in this pack are area of effect spells as well as spells that explode on impact hitting nearby enemies, some of which will also leave behind a trail of tentacles in their wake, which will further impair enemies. The alteration spells in this pack have good synergy with battle mages with the ability to infuse your weapon with poison damage as well as spells that increase your weapon damage when you either cast a spell or hit an enemy with your weapon. When you cast any of these alteration spells, a black book will be summoned that will hover around your character for a time. It's a very fitting addition to the mod that really sells the idea that you're drawing power directly from the infamous black books and Apocryphi itself. In doing so, it builds on existing lore within the game, which is something I could always appreciate from a spell pack. Speaking of lore, in a game that has tons of it, we have this video's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends, a mobile game with over 700 unique champions, a detailed tactical RPG battle system, challenging PvE and PvP content. And it just so happens that this month is Raid's 4th anniversary, so there's a lot to be excited about. I'm talking dedicated offers, free gifts, promo codes, and a brand new fusion event where you get your hands on an anniversary themed legendary champion. I can't get enough when it comes to collecting different champions in Raid. It has to be one of my favorite aspects about the game. If there was a dinner party to celebrate Raid's anniversary and I could only invite 4 champions, the choice is easy. Sitting at my table would be Jintaro, Kale, Robar, and Zargala. If you're an Amazon Prime member who just got Gembo, keep an eye out for the next drop with some powerful Savage gear available from March 2nd to March 30th. So if you're new to Raid, now is a great time to get started. If you click on the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen, you will receive a free $30 starter pack that includes the epic champion Kellen, 4 energy refills, 4 magic potions, and 4 XP brews. Since it's Raid's 4th anniversary, both new and existing players can receive a bunch of free gifts including 4 legendary skill tomes. All you need to do is enter the promo code 4YearsRaid. So what are you waiting for? Download Raid today for free. The next spell pack, Bloodmoon, is a great supporting magic mod for those of you that enjoy playing as a vampire. The mod adds 17 blood-themed spells, most of which inflict magic damage and siphon the health of your enemies. Contains both close and long-range abilities as well as large area of effect spells such as the new Master Destruction spell Blood Vortex, which deals magic damage and absorbs health every second in a large area around the caster. All the new destruction spells have been classified as drain spells and therefore scale with drain spell perks. The spell pack also has a handful of alteration spells that support blood magic such as Blood Stance, which causes tribute blood spells to temporarily have an additional 5% health cost to cast while reducing their magicka cost by 50%, allowing you to sustain your mana pool for drawn out battles. And lastly, the Soul Conjuration spell in the mod allows you to summon a blood anomaly with attacks that absorb health from its targets. The next mod, Lunaris, is the most niche out of all the spell packs I've covered and will cover today because it exclusively affects only undead enemies. There's 16 spells in this pack, most of which are offensive restoration spells that all share the commonality that they inflict damage and slow the movement speed of the undead. Of the 4 new master spells, there are 2 massive area of effect spells that damage and slow down enemies, 1 close ranged melee spell, as well as 1 that releases a burst that needs to be channeled. The singular alteration spell within the mod is Lunar Body, which essentially causes your attacks to deal additional damage to the undead for a time. I always welcome new spells that cater towards specific scenarios, and the lunar spells are a nice alternative to the typical sun spells that other mods fixate on for usage against the undead. It's also worth mentioning that these new lunar spells do scale with sun spell perks, so you can use both types of spells if you choose to build a character around them. The next and largest of the spell packs we'll be looking at is Natura, a nature-themed spell pack that adds a plethora of new spells across each of the schools of magic. The destruction spells focus on adding spells within the natural elements of wind, water, and earth. Each destruction spell inflicts standard damage, but all of them have a prevailing secondary effect that differs depending on the element. For example, all wind spells have a chance of staggering the target. Water spells prevent the target from regenerating stamina and magicka for a short time. Stone spells induce bleeding, which cause the target to take extra damage over time. Each of the new elements have bolt and blast spells that are good for fighting targets from a distance, rune spells to damage enemies when they approach, and touch spells for close combat. As you progress through the levels of destruction, the form and scale of these types of spells increase. The Master Destruction spells consist of massive area of effect spells from each of the new elements that deal damage to all enemies within a large area around the caster, as well as close quarters spells for each element that affect enemies in melee range. Within the Restoration School of Magic is an expansive collection of new offensive bug-themed spells that focus on dealing poison damage over time. There are bug rune spells that damage enemies on approach, as well as a variety of ranged bug spells that inflict damage on hit, as well as those that explode, affecting all enemies within the area. The new alteration spells consist exclusively of aspect spells. Aspects are new passive enhancements to your character. Only one aspect can be active at any given time. They have effects such as increasing the damage dealt by a specific element, or reducing physical damage taken. There are also those that provide extremely unique abilities. An example being the aspect of the Phoenix, which heals you and ignites nearby enemies when your health drops below 25%. Casting these new alteration spells isn't your only way of utilizing these aspects, because there are new Spriggan masks. By wearing these, you will permanently have the effect of an aspect of your choosing, and you won't have to periodically apply the alteration spell. Through the School of Conjuration, you can now summon stone, water, and wind atronachs, which correspond to the new destruction elements that have been added. Following the theme of nature, you can now call forth a variety of Skyrim's creatures and insects, ranging anywhere from bears to direwolves to veil saber cats to the very spirits of nature themselves. You can now summon different types of Spriggans that correspond to different natural elements with varying appearances and abilities to match their element type. You will also be able to encounter these new Spriggan types out in the world. It's also worth mentioning that Spriggans in general have gone through quite a bit of changes due to this mod as well. They've improved restorative abilities, higher physical damage reduction, their claws inflict greater damage, they have access to new spells, and ancient Spriggans are even given the passive benefits of the aspects I mentioned earlier. This spell pack is perfect for building a druid-themed character, or even if you're just looking for a few extra unique spells to add to your arsenal. Flames of Coldharbour allows you to harness the power of the mysterious blue flames that are known to be scattered throughout Molag Bal's Plane of Oblivion. The flames are cold to the touch, dealing frost damage and therefore scaling with frost perks, providing you with some extra variety to frost magic. On top of dealing frost damage, all destruction spells also cause the target to burn, dealing extra fire damage over time. Furthermore, targets that are on fire will take additional damage from cold flame spells in general. An example of some of the new destruction spells within this pack would be a variety of blast and bolt spells that vary in size and power depending on the level of your magic. Spells capable of resurrecting a wall of flames, as well as a flame cloak that damages enemies that get too close. The new master spells consist of one that deals cold fire damage in a wide area around the caster, another one that needs to be channeled dealing damage over time, as well as a blast and touch based spell that detonates on impact. This has to be one of my favorite spell packs out of the ones I've mentioned, because it takes an underutilized piece of lore and develops a spell pack around it. Abyss is a shadow-themed spell pack that adds 23 new spells that focus on stealth enhancement and enemy debuffs. The offensive destruction spells deal shadow damage on top of slowing enemy movement speed. Among the destruction spells are the standard bolt, blast, and touch spells that are commonplace among all these spell packs. There's also Shadow Aura, a spell that causes enemies to explode on death, dealing massive amounts of shadow damage, as well as Shadow Rune spells, which are perfect for setting up traps or ambushes. Of the 3 new Master Destruction spells, one is a powerful melee range spell, and the other 2 are area of effect spells, one of which deals damage in addition to drastically slowing enemy movement speed, while the other deals damage on top of reducing the magic resistance of any targets that have been struck. Among the new illusion spells in the pack, there are a few debuff abilities that reduce the stats of all enemies within a large area around the caster. Abyss also enhances the viability of invisibility spells by introducing new spells that synergize with it. An example being the Master Illusion spell Shadow Mantle, which increases critical hit chance during invisibility by 100%, guaranteeing a critical hit and increasing the likelihood of a successful assassination. This spell pack does a great job at complementing a thief or assassin playstyle, and I highly recommend it. All the spell packs I've covered in this video will be linked down in the description. If you end up downloading any of them, be sure to endorse the mod author for their hard work. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and consider subscribing to the channel if you're new. And as always, thank you for watching.